So I actually come from a family of gymnasts. There's 4 of us total, and we all did gymnastics growing up. And my older 2 sisters actually started because my parents were looking into sports that are good for brain development. So it's like swimming and karate's in there, and gymnastics was one of them that I think that they looked into. And of course, my oldest 2 sisters, they got started in gymnastics when they were really young, and the next sibling comes out, they stick her in gymnastics too, and then
what age was this? What age of when you guys started?
So by the time I was born, I already had 3 sisters doing gymnastics. So it was kind of a no-brainer. Once the 4th one comes along, I stick her in a gymnastics class. And I started at 2 years old.
Wow.
So just learning to walk and tumble at the same time. Yes.
Do you remember your first day or?
I remember when I was 5 years old, actually competing already at 5, which is crazy for me.
5 years old.
And I could only do a few competitions because I was too young to compete. And still, starting at 5 years old, I actually vividly remember doing that competition. But yes.
What do you remember about it? Was it the crowd? Was it feeling proud that you were actually doing your routine?
Yeah. There's not really a crowd when you're competing at 5 years old.
Family's there.
Of course, my family.
It's a room full of parents.
Yes, my parents are the biggest cheerleaders ever. And so, of course, they're on the side just cheering me on. It was quite special, yes.
Amazing. Do you remember like some of the moves that you, I don't know if you call it moves, but that you were doing at the age of 5? Like,
yeah, just, flips here and there. Just very beginner level, but
you were flipping at 5?
Yes, at 5 years old.
Oh
yes.
my goodness. Yeah, like it's basic, right? Just a couple flips here and there.
Yeah.
I understand the splits because obviously when we're young, our flexibility is impeccable. So the splits and all that stuff. Were you also doing, besides mat work, were you doing any of the horse or the beam, any stuff at the age of 5?
I did all of the events. All of it. So vault, bars, beam, and the floor exercise.
At 5?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
That's why Americans, they're great at gymnasts, being a gymnast and everything like that. So you really was bled young.
Yes.
Like, far out.
Okay, so you have that memory of you were competing at 5 years old, but did you ever try or at least want to try out a new sport?
So my extent of other sports consists of soccer for one day.
So for one day.
Decided it was a bit too much running for me and I wanted to go back to the gym and do my flips. And I think I did dance, here and there. It's similar.
Ooh, what type of dance? Like
just ballet. And, the common things that you do at a young age. I think I tried diving again for one day,
What is it about these sports and it lasting for one day?
I don't know. I think I just wasn't cut out to do anything else other than gymnastics, but it worked out. So I can't complain.
So it's diving, soccer, anything else?
Dancing.
Dance. That's it.
That was it.
And stuck with gymnastics ever since.
And then you knew you were just for gymnastics.
Yes.
You know what? That's sometimes hard to get a grasp of at a young age, right? To really know that what you want to do in life. So the good thing you kind of had it so you go to maybe you're a teenage, right? Teenage years or younger, that you knew that gymnastics was the way.
Ever since like I said, 5 years old, and I knew what the Olympics was, that's when I decided I want to go to the Olympics.
Oh,
and
man.
you growing up, you hear kids, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like astronaut or like a doctor. And I was like Olympian. Like that's what I want to be when I grow up.
So that was a goal from the start.
Even at a young age. Yes.
That is crazy.
How did your family react when you were 5 and you were like, no, I'm going to be an Olympian one day?
It's really crazy because there's so many kids that start out in gymnastics at a young age, talking to you guys before, I know you guys have some gymnastics experience.
Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit.
So, it's common for kids to do gymnastics at a young age. And still, even to this day, I'm not really sure how I convinced them that it was going to happen. But of course, it helps having a whole family of gymnasts. Of course, my older sisters too. And we just kept grinding in the gym, and it kept improving. And they're the best parents because they're supporting this dream at such a young age. And most people would have called it crazy, like that's, a bit unrealistic, but I'm thankful for the support system that I have.
No, I was going to say, because some parents would be like, maybe you'd want to look at options of not necessarily switching sports, but maybe focusing on college. And was there some discussion or some sort of discussion like that with you and your family?
Yeah, I always knew that I wanted to get a good education, of course, alongside gymnastics too. So it wasn't ever like gymnastics or bust. Like there was other interests that I wanted to do. Of course, getting an education, going to college. Those things are also equally as important.
Oh, but they weren't like, stop going to the gym so much.
Yes. Yeah. Thankfully, they weren't like that. But I was actually sometimes, when your parents, you get in trouble as a kid, they're like, I'm not taking you to gymnastics. And I'm like, no, please, I'm going to go.
Wow. So you really wanted it.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's great. Speaking of that, was there any like obstacles, real like things that were just, was challenges along the way, even at a young age that you experienced?
Absolutely. I'm thinking of two that stick out to me right now. The first was when I was 12 or 13 was kind of the big shift in my career of when the whole family came together and was like, this is something that you want to do. Like, we're going to go for it with all the effort and fully, determined to put everything out there. And so I really, before that time really was kind of losing interest in the sport. And
was that because you were just maturing?
Yeah, of course, all your friends are hanging out after school, they're
Correct.
getting ice cream or they're spending time with each other. And I had to go to practice for 6 hours a day. And so I took a lot of time out of, kind of a normal childhood, I suppose. But of course, there's nothing normal about my life and what I do. So that was really, I just wanted to be like a normal kid, I suppose. But I'm thankful that, it was just a brief time and it wasn't anything that it was like, okay, I never want to do this again. And that I was able to overcome that to kind of, keep pursuing it because obviously it worked out in the end. So I think the second time that I really, really was going through it was I had foot surgery actually in 2020, right before COVID hit. And they had told me that if I don't get this surgery, that my chances of walking were quite thin. So of course, gymnastics is a very heavy sport on your body. It takes a lot of, wear and tear. And so this surgery had about 9 to 12 months recovery and wasn't sure if I was going to be able to compete again, actually. But of course, just trusting in the Lord and trusting in the doctors and my support system. Thankfully, we're on the other side of that now.
Hindi kailangang clutch ang panunood. Head on over to Clutch Talks on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts for the full episode. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe on Clutch Talk Social na rin para hindi mahuli sa Usapang Clutch.